Ethan always believed he was lucky. Adopted at birth by a warm, compassionate couple, he was raised in a home filled with laughter, values, and unconditional love. His father, a high school teacher with a passion for woodworking, had taught him patience. His mother, a retired nurse, instilled empathy. Together, they built a life so seamless, Ethan rarely thought about the gaps in his origin. Now 28, Ethan had crafted a life of his own, married to Sarah, his college sweetheart, and settled in a cozy house just outside the city. Sarah was everything he could have asked for: intelligent, thoughtful, and fiercely loyal, or so he thought. Their evenings were peaceful, often spent sipping tea on the porch, watching the sun slip behind the hills. But lately, an unease had crept in, subtle, yet persistent. It began after Ethan's father passed away. The loss cracked something in him, a quiet ache that refused to fade. While helping his mother clean out the attic, he stumbled upon a small, time-worn box. Inside was a collection of old photographs, yellowed letters, and a worn envelope labeled simply, "For Ethan." His mother hadn't seen it before and urged him to open it when he was ready. That night, under the soft glow of their bedroom lamp, Ethan unfolded the letter. The handwriting was shaky but unmistakably his father's. It spoke of love, of choices made to protect, and a final line that sent a chill through Ethan's spine: "The truth may hurt, son, but it was meant to keep you safe. Forgive us." Ethan didn't sleep that night. The words echoed in his mind, surfacing questions he had long buried. What truth? What danger? Sarah noticed the shift in him the next morning, his distant gaze, the tightness in his voice, but when she asked, he brushed it off. "Just missing Dad," he said, forcing a smile. Sarah reached out, squeezing his hand. "You don't have to carry it alone." But something in her eyes flickered, concern, perhaps, or something deeper. Ethan couldn't tell. And when he mentioned the letter, she stiffened, quickly suggesting they put the past behind them. "Some things are better left alone, Ethan," she murmured. It was unlike her. Sarah had always encouraged him to explore his roots. Now, her sudden reluctance only fueled his need for answers. Why didn't she want him to know? Later that week, Ethan ordered a DNA test, quietly. He didn't tell Sarah. He needed the truth, not guesses, not gentle reassurances. As he sealed the test kit and dropped it in the mailbox, a strange sense of finality washed over him. Something was coming, he could feel it, and somewhere deep inside, he feared that once he knew the truth, nothing would ever be the same again. 2 weeks later, the results arrived. Ethan stood in the kitchen, the email glowing on his phone screen. Sarah was out running errands, he had timed it that way. His heart pounded as he clicked the link, scanned the page, and stopped cold. Among distant matches and unfamiliar names, one result stood out, bold and undeniable: parent/child match, Robert Langford. The name was familiar, too familiar. Robert Langford was Sarah's father. Ethan stared at the screen, the breath knocked from his lungs. It had to be a mistake, some fluke in the system. But the percentage was irrefutable. Robert Langford wasn't a distant relative or coincidence, he was Ethan's biological father. Hands trembling, Ethan sank into a chair, memories flashing in disjointed pieces. Robert, present at their wedding, always formal, always reserved. The way Sarah stiffened when Ethan brought up his curiosity about his birth parents. Her reluctance about the DNA test. She knew when Sarah returned, Ethan was waiting, the printed results on the table between them. Her eyes widened, lips parting as if to speak, but she said nothing. Silence screamed between them. "Tell me," Ethan said, voice low, controlled. "Start with why your father's name is on here." Sarah's composure cracked. Tears welled in her eyes, but Ethan remained still, unreadable. "It wasn't supposed to come out like this," she whispered. "Then how was it supposed to come out?" She sat down slowly, as though the weight of the truth was too much to bear. Years ago, before I was born, my father had an affair with a woman named Lillian. She became pregnant with you. When you were born, she passed away, complications. My father couldn't face the scandal, the fallout. He arranged for you to be adopted quietly. He paid them to keep it buried. Ethan's stomach twisted. And you knew? He asked. Sarah nodded, shame etched into every line of her face. I found out when we started dating. My father recognized your name, your face, he told me. He begged me not to say anything, said it was ancient history. I didn't want to lose you, Ethan. I didn't know what to do. You married me knowing I was his son? Ethan's voice cracked, anger flaring. You lied. You both lied. I didn't lie about loving you, she said, tears spilling. I thought I could protect you, from the truth, from him. I didn't mean for it to happen this way. But Ethan couldn't hear her anymore. The ground beneath him had shifted, his life fractured by betrayal, not just from a man he never knew, but from the woman he trusted most. He rose, stepping away. I need air, he muttered. Outside, the cold bit at his skin, but it couldn't numb the fire in his chest. Truth had found him, and it was only the beginning. Ethan didn't return home that night. Instead, he found himself driving aimlessly through quiet streets, the city lights blurring through the windshield. Questions clawed at his mind, each one more unbearable than the last. How could Sarah deceive him for so long? Why did Robert Langford, a man of power, wealth, and influence, bury his own son in lies? By dawn, Ethan was parked outside Robert's estate, a sprawling mansion perched on the hill, cold and sterile against the rising sun. He'd been here before, for holidays and formal dinners, always as Sarah's husband, never knowing the truth. Now, he was here as Robert's son, and he wanted answers. Robert answered the door himself, as if he had been expecting him. I suppose you know, Robert said, voice clipped, eyes scanning Ethan's face. No apologies? Ethan asked, stepping inside uninvited. No explanations? Robert sighed, shutting the door. You weren't meant to find out. Your adoptive parents agreed, anonymity was best. What's done is done. Ethan's jaw tightened. You abandoned me. Then you let your daughter, my wife, live a lie. Robert's eyes flickered. Sarah didn't want to lose you. She loves you. Spare me, Ethan snapped. You didn't protect me. You protected yourself. From scandal. From guilt. Robert's calm cracked, a flash of frustration surfacing. You don't understand the pressure, the expectations. One mistake could have destroyed everything I built. Ethan stepped closer, his voice low and burning. You are the mistake. And now the truth's out. Robert stiffened. Be careful, Ethan. Families like ours don't air dirty laundry. I'm not part of your family, Ethan said, turning away. Not anymore. That evening, Ethan returned home to find Sarah waiting on the porch, eyes red, hands clasped. She stood as he approached, unsure, hopeful. I'm sorry, she whispered. I never meant to hurt you. Ethan looked at her, torn between love and betrayal. You chose silence. You had a chance to be honest, and you let me walk blind. Sarah reached for his hand, but he stepped back. I need space, Sarah. I need to figure out who I am without all of this, without you. Tears welled again, but she nodded, understanding. I'll wait. Inside, Ethan packed a bag. His world had shattered, but in its ruins, he saw a path, one where he would reclaim control. No more secrets. No more lies. As he drove away, a single thought echoed in his mind. I may not have chosen this truth, but I'll decide what happens next. Weeks passed. Ethan moved into a modest apartment on the city's edge, nothing fancy, just a space to breathe, to think. The silence was healing. Each day, he went to work, kept to himself, and avoided calls from Sarah. He wasn't ready. The pain of betrayal hadn't faded, but it had transformed, no longer raw, just a steady pulse beneath his skin. One afternoon, a package arrived at his door, no return address. Inside, he found an old journal bound in leather, along with a short note in Sarah's handwriting. "It belonged to your mother, Lillian. I thought you should have it. I'm sorry, Ethan. Truly." Ethan held the journal in his hands for a long time before opening it. The pages were filled with soft, slanted handwriting. Lillian wrote of her dreams, her fears, and, eventually, of Ethan, how she'd hoped to raise him with love, despite the odds stacked against her. Tears blurred his vision as he read her final entry, written days before his birth. "If I can't be there for you, my son, I hope you find people who cherish you, who make you feel whole. You are not a mistake. You are my miracle." The words struck deep. For so long, Ethan had felt adrift, as though his existence was an accident tangled in lies. But Lillian's voice, gentle and unfiltered, gave him something he hadn't had before: clarity. He wasn't a product of scandal. He was loved. Wanted. Armed with that truth, Ethan made a decision. He met Sarah at a small cafe, the air tense but calm. She looked weary, her eyes searching his face for any sign of hope. "I read it," Ethan said, placing the journal on the table. "Thank you." She nodded, unsure of what came next. "I'm not ready to come back," he continued. "But I'm also not ready to throw away everything we had." Sarah blinked, processing. "So, what does that mean?" "It means I need time to rebuild trust, to figure out if we can start again, honestly this time." Her shoulders relaxed, and for the first time in weeks, she smiled, a faint, grateful smile. That night, Ethan stood on his balcony, journal in hand, city lights flickering below. He thought of his father, the man who raised him. Of Robert, the man who didn't. Of Sarah, and her flawed, complicated love, and most of all, of Lillian, whose words gave him the strength to move forward. The past would always be part of him. But now, he had the power to define what came next, not as someone else's secret but as his own truth.